Hey everyone, welcome to Let's Talk Star Wars. I'm Jay, and with me here is Z.
Hello, and today's topic we'll be discussing a few select fan theories and why they may be right or why we think they're wrong.
Indeed.
Alright, so our first theory is the Ewok cannibalism theory. So basically, the theory says that since the Ewoks were about to cook Han Solo and Luke when they first found the Ewoks, that the Ewoks definitely will eat other sentient beings. And after the Battle of Endor, during the celebration, we see that the Ewoks are celebrating by using Stormtrooper helmets as drums, which means they were messing around with the Stormtrooper bodies at some point. Doing what? Well, that's where the theory comes in. They say that Han Solo, Luke, and Chewbacca and Leia mistakenly ate stormtroopers because how else would the Ewoks be able to feed the entire village and their guests with their normal food supplies or whatever, which still could have been other humans anyways.
So, the Ewoks killed the stormtroopers, and
Whoa!
so the Ewoks killed the stormtroopers, and then got the bodies and cooked them, and then they served them to Luke and gang.
Luke and gang is crazy. They're guests.
Without actually telling them where the meat came from. So, Luke and Han and Leia were cannibals without knowing it.
Yes, they are.
Wow. Other people say that the stormtroopers inside could have kept fighting, and the Ewoks didn't actually eat them. They were just fighting somewhere else, maybe. But again, where would you get all the meat if you didn't have it already? Maybe they had meat because they had meat in the trap when they first captured them. Chewbacca was like, "Oh, meat! Yeah, I'm hungry." And then
Yes,
they got
remember Han
stuck
Solo
in
looked at it and he was a little concerned on what he was seeing?
I don't think it was human meat though. I think it was
Okay.
from a giant creature.
Yeah, which means the Ewoks could have had large stores of meat, but they also seem like a really basic species that they only hunt for what they need. They don't really store it up.
Maybe.
And there's a lot of them. Plus they're
There
guests.
are a lot of them.
And it was a party, which means there's a lot more being eaten at a time.
And that it would also explain the stormtrooper helmets as the drums.
Yes. I mean, I get it if the Ewoks just wanted to get some free instruments or something. They just thought the helmets would be fun to bang on. But like, I don't know. It's possible that the Ewoks' guests are cannibals.
Accidentally. Without knowing it.
Unknowingly,
Unknowingly.
accidentally.
But still,
In Star Wars, I don't think it's illegal. So,
especially on Endor where there's no politics.
yes.
Or the moon of Endor.
The moon of Endor, yes. It's a moon!
Alright, okay. So, for our next theory, we are discussing how Obi-Wan may or may not have actually
Caused
caused the death of Luke's foster parents or his uncle and aunt, Owen and Beru, Lars.
Yes. So, basically, it's a lot of weird timing that Obi-Wan conveniently finds Luke after Luke is looking for R2 and keeps him at his house right around the time that the stormtroopers also come out to the Lars house and shoot him and burn him.
I'm gonna say, how did R2 know when the timing was, though? When
Obi-Wan was to come out, because it
Well,
wasn't...
Obi-Wan wouldn't have had to take him back to his house, though. Obi-Wan could have just gotten in the speeder and gone back to Luke's house.
That is true, but the timing is very, very convenient that R2 ran off, or rolled off, and Luke had to go search for him. But it's kind of strange how convenient it is, because surely Obi-Wan can't talk to R2 through the Force, because that just
I don't think so.
doesn't work. So I can understand it being convenient, him taking Luke back to his house, but I don't understand how it can be timed for R2 to run off at that moment. It could just be a coincidence.
Yes. Also, after Luke told Obi-Wan about their death,
Obi-Wan wasn't sad, exactly.
yes,
He was
Obi-Wan was just kind of like,
He was just kind of
okay.
like, oh, well, it'll be okay. Come with me to Alderaan,
Yes.
so you can become a Jedi.
And as we've seen before, Obi-Wan can sometimes make the wrong move to achieve a greater goal. Meaning, he knew he was always supposed to train Luke to eventually defeat Vader. Especially as we've seen in the new Obi-Wan series. Not that I necessarily agree with all that's in the new Obi-Wan series, but that is what is presumably what happened based on George Lucas's mind with where Obi-Wan comes from in the first place and all of that. So, it's a little bit like, yes, it can all just be a coincidence and Obi-Wan's just an old grumpy guy who doesn't care anymore. Or that he did intentionally cut off all of Luke's ties to Tatooine to get him more convinced to leave. Because remember, he was like, Luke said, oh, I got to go back and because I got to work the farm. And then Obi-Wan's like, what farm? Because the Lars are dead. So,
Lars's.
yeah. Anyways.
I'm gonna say, honestly, another thing is that Obi-Wan said these shots after they went to the Sandcrawler and found all the Jawas dead, and he was like, these shots are too accurate for Sand People, aka Tusken Raiders, and he was like, these are done by Imperial stormtroopers, yet none of the stormtroopers can hit Luke, who's literally running 10 feet in front of them.
Exactly.
So it could have been assassins hired by Obi-Wan. And then it could be the same assassins or the same group of assassins that went and incinerated Owen and Beru.
Because that's another thing. The Imperials, yes, they are evil, but they're not going to spend time burning the place. Like, why would they? Just go in there. You don't find the droids. I mean, all you do is just shoot them. Like, I don't know.
Because technically,
Unless there was a fight, and then I don't know how Owen would fight. But
I'm not sure Darth Vader actually knew he had a son by that point.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're looking for the droids, not Luke.
Yeah. But
That's the other reason. Obi-Wan knew they were looking for the droids, not Luke. So he pulled Luke away from the Imperials as well.
yeah, he couldn't have been planning this very long, because he had to have been planning it like right after they bought the droids.
Or he
He had-
lied about thinking that it was stormtroopers versus sand people, because it could be that Obi-Wan, who has been living in the desert for a while and is obviously capable of controlling the sand people, as seen in movie 4, he could have had the sand people do it because they would have been happy to burn a place down like that. I mean, they're raiders. So, but he's trying to blame it on the Empire to get Luke to be more encouraged to try and fight Vader and the Empire and stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm just saying, honestly, he wouldn't have been planning this for a long, long time. He would have been planning this ever since Luke bought the droids, like the day before or something. Or even that day.
Yeah, Obi-Wan was always observing Luke.
The day, yeah.
It's just Luke never knew it. So Obi-Wan, probably recognizing the droids, saw Luke buy them, and then he's like,
And then,
"Oh,
yeah, he was like,
we need
maybe
to. This is probably the time to get Luke involved."
yeah, maybe R2D2 will come searching for me, or C-3PO or something. Maybe he didn't think that, and then maybe he just saw R2D2 going off in the desert, and he's like, oh my gosh, Luke must be out searching for him. I should hire someone to kill the Larses, and then I can take Luke to my house while they're doing that, and we can get the message going.
Talk about galactic politics while they're dying.
And I can say, you gotta come with me to be a Jedi. And then Luke says, no, I got responsibilities here at home that I really don't care about, but I have to do them. And then Luke goes back home. Conveniently, they're dead right after Obi-Wan says, come with me somewhere else. And Luke says, no, I have to stay here with my foster parents. Mm-hmm. He goes back, finds his foster parents dead. So then he goes to Obi-Wan and says, well, I'm going to train to be a Jedi. I'll go with you, since I ain't got anything here.
Here's another thing that ties right in with that is the reason R2 disappeared is because Obi-Wan took him. So, Obi-Wan is observing Luke as he buys the droids. He recognizes the droids as R2 and C-3PO from back in movies 1, 2, and 3. And he then decides, oh, here's my chance to pull Luke away in a not so creepy way, and I'll swear R2 to secrecy because R2 knows who I am. I mean, he has a message for me after all. And so Obi-Wan actually takes R2, and then that's when Luke goes and finds and all of that kind of stuff. And that's when Obi-Wan gives the signal to the assassins or sand people and whatnot. And I also find it funny that the sand people didn't just outright just like shoot Luke. They just decided to sneak up behind him and hit him on the head. That also could have been Obi-Wan's.
That very well could have been Obi-Wan, yes.
Obi-Wan was behind it all.
That's very possible.
It's very concerning too. Is Obi-Wan?
It is very concerning.
Is
yes.
Obi-Wan secretly evil?
But then the thing about it is though is
No, he was doing it for the greater good.
then they, oh yes, this was all part of his plan. Then they go to the Death Star. He fights Darth Vader, and then Darth Vader kills him, and then he comes back as a ghost in movie 5, and Luke tells him, or he tells Luke, go to Dagobah so that Yoda can train him. And then Luke sees him as a ghost on Dagobah. But then Luke is like, oh no, my friends are in trouble. I gotta go save them. And then Yoda's like, no, you need more training. I've done literally almost nothing with you. You've run, you've jumped, you've done a little bit with the Force. You've done one-arm push-ups. You know, you've done barely anything. So don't run off yet. And then Luke's like, no. So, but yeah, I think it's very, I'm not gonna yes or no. I'm not gonna deny or confirm it, but I think it could be very possible.
Definitely let us know in the comments what you guys think about this one. And all the theories we talk about today. But this one's definitely the most interesting one so far.
So far.
So, our next theory is the Star Wars multiverse theory. This one is very interesting because based on the stuff that happened in Star Wars Rebels, there is the world between worlds, so to speak. And that is where the multiverse idea comes in, when Ezra can travel back in time
Using the Force.
using the Force to save
Ahsoka.
Ahsoka. Which is also another theory on how Palpatine time traveled to movie 9.
I think that's been canceled out now that we know that he's a clone. Like, there's still theories floating around on the internet. There's lots of theories floating around on the internet about Palpatine time traveling from movie 6
Because
to movie 9.
that was supposed to be the big explosion at the end of at the bottom of the shaft, was him time traveling.
Yeah, but then we find out. I actually found this out in the Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga video game. You look in the character selection and you find Palpatine, and then you click, if you're playing it on PlayStation, you click triangle, I think, and it switches to the other skin, and it says Palpatine clone. So, or the Emperor, whatever.
So what the mad scientists basically on Exegol did is they made a clone of Palpatine, Project Necromancer. And then Palpatine, when he's falling down the shaft, the big blue explosion is him using the ancient Sith technique that Darth Bane attempted to use to transfer his consciousness across space, which he successfully did apparently into the clone's body. So, although it's not the same physical body, it is Palpatine himself in movie 9, which is stupid. I hate movie 9. This makes it even worse. Darth Bane's better.
Anyways, back to the multiverse theory.
Back to the multiverse theory. In Star Wars Visions, it features a standalone story that are explicitly non-canon, but it does show alternate universes where the rules of the Force or the history of the galaxy are completely different.
I do not like that. That's the anime, isn't it?
Yes, I think Star Wars Vision's the anime style. But, yeah, so apparently there is, according to Disney now, a multiverse in Star Wars. And the Force can...
Basically.
Well, a multiverse in the sense that it's time travel, which can create branches of time.
So it's more like the 2020 something Flash movie, where when you time travel, you create a new branch. Essentially.
Sort of. That's kind of how they explain it. It's more like Back to the Future time travel. Where if you go back in time, you alter the future, but it's actually a tangent, not... So the original still exists. So there's a constant, infinite branching in the Flash theory, whereas in Back to the Future and now Star Wars, it's more of the tangent theory, where time is constant and not necessarily always changing. The future is fixed. But if you do time travel, then you can create the tangent.
And then we talk about the Rebuild the Galaxy series. It's Lego, so
Not official canon.
you can't consider it canon, but I think some of it...
That had to do with a force break. It had nothing to do with the world between worlds.
Something, yeah, never mind.
It was reality altering, not time travel.
It was...
So yes, this multiverse thing says that Ezra created 2 universes when he undid killing Ahsoka. There's what would have happened had he not messed with time. And there was what happens now with the Disneyverse.
I'm going to say this multiverse theory could honestly help explain the evil versions. Like when Luke went to Dagobah and saw Darth Vader, but it was actually him in the Darth Vader
That was
suit.
just dark side. That was just Luke's emotions expressing themselves physically through the extreme power of the dark side in that area.
Yeah. I'm just
His
honest.
fear was fighting Vader, so the dark side made him confront his fear.
Yeah.
But then
I'm just wanting to say this because
the reason Luke's face was in the helmet was because the dark side was showing him, you are your greatest fear.
Yeah, I'm just saying because it's maybe because Yoda fought his evil self and Rey briefly fought her evil self.
And remember, they
And
were all
they
in
were-
weird dark side places,
Yeah, they were all in strange dark side places.
not the world between worlds.
I might
Also, the world between worlds is where the Jedi ghosts exist.
yeah. That would make sense. I don't want to like start some theory that's incorrect. I'm just going to say like the weird super concentration of dark side could have somehow brought, if you want to look at this in a weird perspective, that could be a very Disney thing, but it somehow could have brought those characters, Yoda, Rey, Luke, from some other dimension, or like you said, or like just some other reality where those characters are evil, and then somehow brought them there. That might sound stupid. I'm sorry. Just
I mean, it's kind of like
it's kind of
okay.
when you think about it like that, then it gets kind of into Marvel with the multiverse stuff, and you're like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
So, but then comes some other theories that aren't directly related to Star Wars, really.
Well, here's one I'd like to talk about. The E.T. theory. Here it is.
All part of the
Because E.T. species,
multiverse.
the Asogians, appears in the Galactic Senate in The Phantom Menace, many theorize that our universe and the Star Wars galaxy are connected through a multiverse and shared history.
Not necessarily our universe, but the universe of E.T. Because,
Well, E.T. happens on Earth,
yeah, but
and E.T.'s a time traveler, bro. E.T. from the movie is probably the one species who became a Jedi and was time traveling with the world between worlds. This also explains why there's C-3PO and R2 glyphs in the Indiana Jones Egyptian tombs. It would also explain why Star Wars happened a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also how the pyramids were built
Looking at it
by quote-unquote aliens.
looking at it from either not exactly a time travel yes, but also very interdimensional multiverse kind of thing, either looking at it from there or from a non-biblical perspective.
Well, yeah, it's all fake anyway.
But yeah, it's all fake, so
But yeah, so I like to believe that Star Wars, E.T., and Indiana Jones are all part of the same multiversal universe, basically.
I like
They're different.
I
They're
like-
different branches of time
yeah.
and reality.
I like to think about that because it's just kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I just don't like to get too deep into it because Star Wars is made up, so
Well, so is Indiana Jones.
I know Indiana Jones is made up. It's just like Star Wars. Star Wars is made up. It's in a completely different part of the
Space.
universe.
Yeah.
So it's just, I personally don't really like to connect it with Earth, honestly. So like when someone says, what if like someone from Star Wars came to Earth? Yeah,
E.T.
but
did.
yeah, but it's also they have speeders and spaceships on like a lot of the planets of Star Wars, and there's not really cars and our buildings and stuff. Now, we're far enough away, I guess, but that, our stuff is different. But for some reason, I just don't really like connecting Earth with Star Wars. I do it for fun. I don't do it for, like,
Well, that's the other thing.
getting super
The
deep into Star
people
Wars.
in Star Wars are humans.
Yeah. So how did they get there in the first place?
It's a multiverse.
Multiverse, yeah.
That's what you have to think about. They are connected, but they don't interact unless someone finds the world between worlds.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's why I'm halfway okay with the multiverse theory if you're trying to connect Star Wars and
it's just because they're all George Lucas and Steven Spielberg films. They're all connected with Easter eggs.
They just
and we
all-
have to have an
they have to-
in-canon explanation.
any movie with a reference or an Easter egg of another movie, someone always has to connect it, and then that starts a chain reaction. So that's my thing. I don't like to put cameos and I don't really like it.
Yeah, okay, so continuing on with the multiverse thing, this also explains the expanded universe of Star Wars. So basically the canon canon is the films. Like all the movies
All the
plus the Disney TV shows.
yeah. And then there's not really the Star Wars anime because they made that specifically to not fit in Star Wars, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Basically, you guys can figure out what canon is. So there's the canon, which is supposed to be like the official or the mainstream timeline. And then there's the quote-unquote fractured timeline,
Or the expanded universe in franchise talk
which is the Legends books.
/ the comics and stuff. But the comics,
The Legends are all a coherent story.
yeah,
That's why it's the series and not just one or two books.
yeah.
It's 40 books or something like that.
It's actually like 50, 60 something books.
Yeah.
80. I don't. Honestly,
many to
I'll-
count
I'll
pretty
have
much.
to. I'll have to count again.
But so it does have some similar characters. That's what a multiverse is. But they all do different things, and the outcome is quite different. So that explains why there's Legends. And then the comic books are more fractured, smaller branches of the multiverse. And it just, yeah. Basically, we're giving an in-canon explanation onto why people are allowed to use their imaginations and write their own stories.
I really like this theory because of honestly, I do like this theory actually. I like it, but it's Disney. A lot of Disney stuff doesn't fit in with other Disney stuff, so it doesn't.
Yeah, like the Acolyte. What the heck, bro? That's all I have to say to Disney. What the heck? Why?
Yeah, it's just some stuff in Disney doesn't fit in with other stuff in Disney and doesn't fit in with original George Lucas stuff. So I like it. I mean, I have complaints about some of the Legend series too, but it's not nearly as much as
It's minimal compared to movie 9.
yeah. Movie 9, The Acolyte, all that stuff.
Yeah. Like, Disney made Rebels. And I was like, that's pretty good. I can get behind this. It's a animated show, so they're taking some cartoon liberties with some of the physics. But aside from that, like
I don't like it when people do that.
like Rebels is good. I like Rebels. It's okay. And they made Rogue One my favorite Star Wars movie. Oh my goodness, Rogue One is the best. Then they made Solo. I was like, this is pretty good. Still not the best, not as good as like movie 3, but it's still pretty good. And then they made Mandalorian. And I was like, this is awesome. And season 7 of Clone Wars, which was pretty good, but the other seasons were better. But like they made Mandalorian, I was like, season 1, awesome. I love Mandalorian. One of my favorite Star Wars characters. Season 2, okay, pretty good. Then they made stinking Book of Boba Fett. Such a bad show. Don't recommend. It failed successfully. And season 2 of Mandalorian, mid. It's okay. Season 1 better. Then they made season 3, along with the Ahsoka series. Both of those are awful. And then, what do they go do? They make me happy and make the Andor series. The Andor series is so good. Do you want to know why? Because they let the stinking director they hired write the thing. Andor's so good. Still need to watch season 2.
And then they're also coming out with the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, so we'll see how that goes.
I hope it's really good.
I've seen it's been predicted that it's gonna be a disappointment.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
gonna-
very scared.
Yes, very scared. But anyways, back to the multiverse.
Well, yeah, all that to say. So basically, the Disney timeline started right when Ezra went to the world between worlds and saved Ahsoka. That's when that divergence happened. So Legends is technically the original timeline before the Rebels divergence.
I like this theory. I just have a problem with it because that makes Rebels canon no matter what. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying
Well, no, Rebels.
it's Disney.
Rebels
It's made
is
by
canon.
Disney.
Well, yes, Rebels is canon to both Legends and the official canon, but I don't think any of the Rebels characters make an appearance in Legends.
Yeah. So that's my problem with the multiverse thing. So
Yeah, so no characters from the Rebels series appears in the Legends books, though up until the Divergence, they do. In which case they then exist in both multiverses as different different versions of themselves, basically.
okay, so the original canon was sort of Disney, and then they went up and changed it, and then became the Legends, and so became the spaghetti kind of thing from the Flash movie, where not only
Yes, but the spaghetti isn't just every character's decision. The spaghetti situation is everybody's comic books and side stories and all the Legends books, and that creates the spaghetti.
just a lot of stuff in the past, present, and future changed by that point.
Yes. The divergence went in all directions. As Doc Brown would say, "Great Scott, the ripple effect." Ezra dropped the rock in the puddle, and the waves reached all edges of the puddle.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's why.
Pretty big puddle.
Well, actually, you can see it all on the surface, but it goes really deep.
Yeah. Some things you don't need to go super deep on.
Read Darth Bane for what it is. Please don't ask for a fourth book. So, this is just a little theory that can't actually hold up in any sort of canon.
It was just a theory for like when
When it was just movie 4 was out.
when it was just Star Wars Episode 4, when it was just called Star Wars back in 1977.
And when Obi-Wan referenced the Clone Wars, people thought, oh, they fought a war against the clones. And they thought that maybe this old Ben Kenobi was actually a clone commander named Obi-Wan, spelled,
The number 1.
yeah, the number 1. In this version, the Clone Wars were fought against clones, and our Obi-Wan was simply the one clone that survived. Still don't know how that explains why he's a Jedi, but
It was before we had very in-depth
yes,
amount of information.
it was one of the first theories that arose after movie 4 was released, and it was the only Star Wars content out there.
Another weird clone theory is that Grogu from The Mandalorian is a clone of Yoda. And I halfway like this one. Except that why can't it just be that he's just another one of Yoda's
He's another one
race.
of Yoda's race. We know there's more because there's Yaddle.
Yeah. So
And Grogu is 50 years old.
just why do we need a clone of Yoda?
Why do we need more clones?
Why
I know
do-
it's Star Wars, but no more clones.
Why does everything have to be connected? Like, why? I saw a theory about how Qui-Gon's kyber crystal from his lightsaber was the same crystal that Luke used in his green lightsaber. And it's like, okay, but why? It's
Why does it
not
have to?
necessary.
Yeah.
He could have just... he doesn't need Qui-Gon's, crystal. It's just... why?
How would he know and why would and where? Why, how,
Yeah,
and where?
Obi-Wan never told him about Qui-Gon. Unless, like, some scene that you don't see where he's telling him on the Falcon.
Yeah,
Or as a ghost
something.
on Endor. Or something.
That's the other thing. I was actually kind of getting into Supreme Leader Snoke. I mean, I know he's a complete, like, Palpatine ripoff, old, wrinkly, damaged forehead guy. Who isn't an emperor, but he is a Supreme Leader.
Oh my gosh, that's so
Supreme Leader is the
different.
definition of emperor.
It's so different.
But I was actually kind of getting into this guy because it was kind of like all new characters aside from, like, Han and Leia. And Luke.
We're not saying Luke and Kylo Ren are good characters.
We're not saying Luke and Kylo Ren are good characters, but it was actually, like, mostly different characters aside from some of, like, the big guys who they wanted to throw in there again.
And kill
And
off.
then bro dies and they bring Palpatine back for no reason. Why? Also, Disney, tell me this. You had the entire Star Wars universe written out for you in the Legends books. Why couldn't you put those amazing books to film for us? You had to go and write your own thing. Why? And don't tell me it was too expensive because you have money. Thank you. Okay, here's a very interesting one that I'd like to throw out there again. Please let me know in the comments what you think of this. Starkiller Base was built on Endor.
The moon of Endor, that is.
Endor is a forest moon that orbits a larger gas giant planet of the same name. That's why in movie 6, Akbar says the forest moon of Endor.
Although the moon is also called Endor.
Which is stupid.
Like they couldn't go with, the gas planet Yavin and then its moons Yavin 1, Yavin 2, Yavin 3, etc. They just had to go with Endor and Endor. Like they couldn't call it Endor Jr. or something. Or rearrange the letters.
It's the Endor system with the primary planet Endor and the small forest moon that apparently was never named, so it just inherited the name Endor. This drives me kind of nuts. Moving on.
Yeah, I honestly do kind of like Starkiller Base being built on, was it the moon of Endor, you said? Or was it Endor the gas? No, it wasn't Endor the gas giant. I do like Starkiller Base being built on the moon of Endor, which is right there where the second Death Star blew up and where Vader was burned. I like this because it's...
That's where Kylo Ren got the burnt helmet.
Yeah, I like it because... And that would make sense, too. I partly like it because of, the irony of all that. Not necessarily irony. I think they did that on purpose, if that's what they're going for. But I think I also like it because it's... Disney's movies are ruining everything, and this just adds to it. The First Order ruining a planet that was so popular. So, anyways, we'll move on now from this Starkiller theory. Which one?
Okay, here's another one that I really like. This is the... Okay. Okay. The theory on why the stormtroopers are only bad at shooting when it's a named character. Because main characters have a force field from the Force. Some believe the Force subconsciously redirect bolts away from individuals critical to the galaxy's balance, like Leia or Luke, essentially giving them divine protection.
So says Google. That's funny. It could make sense, but it's also very funny. I kind of like that.
But the official canon theory is that stormtroopers, their suits are designed to look menacing and perfectly uniform and symmetrical and stuff.
And so you're supposed to be scared of them, so it doesn't matter.
So they
That-
can't see out of the helmets very well.
Yeah.
And this was actually
I mean,
in-
Luke said himself when
this
he
was
put the
actually in
stormtrooper
Rebels, is Captain Rex had a stormtrooper costume on, and he was shooting, and he said, "I can't aim in this dang helmet." And he took the helmet off and then sniped 2 people. So
Yeah, Luke himself, when in episode 4, when he was in the elevator, and he was in the, or actually it wasn't when he was in the elevator, it was just before that, but he had the stormtrooper disguise on, and he literally said to Han next to him, "I can't see a thing in this helmet."
yeah, which also goes back to proving our theory about the Obi-Wan thing earlier. Is he claims they were too accurate for sand people. They must have been Imperial troopers. Well, they can't hit the broadside of a barn.
Or a bantha, whichever one you
Yeah,
choose.
broadside of a bantha. So, like, how in the world? Yeah.
Very, very. It's yeah, that works. That works. Unless you play Star Wars Battlefront 2 and you're really good at it, and you play as a stormtrooper.
Well, that's because they're all. That's because they're
That's 'cause
all
they're
fair.
mostly fair, yeah. But anyways, back to fan theories.
Okay, something of a theory to explain why Anakin's lightsaber in Maz's castle chose Rey over Kylo Ren is this is within Disney canon theory, is because this is similar to Harry Potter, the lightsaber crystals, the kyber crystals, have some level of sentience, meaning they're almost like living rocks, and choose their masters. This also explains why the process of making a lightsaber, you must journey to certain force-sensitive planets that have rocks, and the force will lead you to the crystal. And that's how your color gets chosen too, is through the force. But Anakin's saber called to Rey over Kylo Ren. It wasn't just the Force, but the weapon itself rejecting Kylo Ren.
Maybe.
So, our next theory is a Yoda's time dilation theory. To explain Luke's rapid training in The Empire Strikes Back, some fans suggest Yoda used the Force to slow down time on Dagobah. What felt like months of training for Luke may have only been a few days for the rest of the galaxy. Which makes 0 sense, because the Empire had enough time to build the second Death Star between movies 5 and 6. Which means Luke was actually training real time. It also doesn't make a whole lot of sense why Leia would only go after rescuing Han
Yeah, it doesn't really
until
explain
Luke was done training for
what's
some reason. Or
yeah, it doesn't explain what's happening in the rest of the movie within the time dilation theory.
Yeah, Yoda's time dilation
doesn't-
theory doesn't make sense,
Yeah, it doesn't actually work.
and it obviously doesn't help explain anything.
Yeah.
Because obviously the Empire had time to build the second Death Star. Unless they were already, maybe that's part of it. They were already planning on making multiple Death Stars. And that's why the second one was already under construction. Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, so let's run through this. Let's run through some of the facts on this theory about the Prime Jedi.
This is Revan. The Prime Jedi is Revan.
Correct.
Yes.
But not Revan himself, a different one.
Let's
So, yeah,
I'm cutting that out.
the first temple founded by the Prime Jedi, quote unquote, 25,000 years before the movies.
According to Disney's official canon thing.
Yeah. And the Jedi Order on the ocean planet of Ahch-To, where Luke ended up in movie 8. Okay. Fine. So far. Luke Skywalker discovered a mural of the Prime Jedi in the first temple. Unlike modern Jedi who focus solely on the light, the Prime Jedi was depicted as a servant of balance, resembling like the yin-yang symbol where light and dark are equal. Revan! This is why Darth Revan is my favorite Star Wars character. It's because he was the most powerful being who ever existed in Star Wars. He used good side tactics and bad side tactics.
Light and dark.
He had freaking force lightning, but he used it for good. Anyways, just throwing the Darth Revan stuff out there. Early theories suggest the Prime Jedi didn't use a modern lightsaber, but the Force Saber, a metal sword imbued with Force energy. Basically, a vibro sword that was vibrating with the Force, or by the Force, instead of technology or electronics.
Yeah, and it had
So that's the
it
official-
had this giant battery you wear on your back. Like
Well,
a
that's not the Force
backpack.
Saber, that's the Proto Saber.
That is the Proto Saber.
The Proto Saber had the no. The Proto Saber was later. The Force Saber is a metal sword imbued with Force energy.
Oh, okay.
The Proto Saber is the battery, the backpack battery
Yeah.
light sword. So that's the official canon. Before the Disney reset, the first Jedi
Not before.
weren't just one person, but a massive group called the Jedi.
Jedi.
Yeah, spelled differently, and it's been
According to the Legends books.
so 36,000 years ago.
Okay, I'm sorry. According to the comic book entitled Dawn of the Jedi, spelled like modern Jedi, and basically the sequel to that, Dawn of the Jedi Into the Void. So that's where we're getting the Jedi and what you're about to talk about.
So, a couple things here. The Thoyor ships, 36,000 years ago, 8 giant pyramid-shaped ships traveled the galaxy and called to Force sensitives of all species, bringing them to the planet Tython. The Jedi didn't believe in light and dark. They used the terms Ashla, the light moon, and Bogan, the dark moon.
Which are also the moons of Tython, I
Yeah.
think.
If a member strayed too far into the light or dark, they were exiled to the opposite moon until they regained their balance. The Great Schism. The Jedi, we know, only formed after a massive war on Tython, where those following the light defeated those following the dark. The survivors left Tython and founded the Jedi Order on a new world, Ossus. And the dark sides, the remnants that survived the Tython battle, were probably exiled to some other distant planet. And that's where we get the Lost Tribe of the Sith. Haha, it's all connected.
If you're reading all the Legends books, you should read the Dawn of the Jedi Into the Void and probably the comic book before that.
Yeah.
But Dawn of the Jedi Into the Void is not a book I recommend if you're just reading for reading. You know, I do not recommend that book.
So, some fans have suggested that to expand this Legends canon, the first Jedi happened to be a Skywalker. The Skywalker name wasn't just a surname, but an ancient title for those who could walk among the stars using the Force. This theory posits that the Prime Jedi was the original Skywalker. Kind of like this theory, doesn't really mean anything aside from, no, that doesn't work. Because Anakin's mother had no connection to the Force whatsoever. Anakin was born from the Force.
Yeah. There's
So that doesn't actually make a whole
we're
lot
still
of sense.
talking we're still going to talk about the first Jedi. I just want to say there's a theory that Palpatine used the Force
To make Anakin.
to have
That doesn't make any sense.
okay. Yeah.
why her?
Why her?
Why not
I
sooner?
know. Yes.
He already
Why
had
not-
Darth Maul. He had Darth Maul and Count Dooku already.
Yeah,
He wasn't thinking about a third one.
Well,
He was just looking for the chosen one. That's why he was in disguise and playing chancellors, because he was.
Yeah,
He
was
wanted to
just
be the first to know when the
looking-
chosen one arose.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that theory doesn't make any sense. But, anyways, First Jedi, Professor Hayang.
Yes, so the architect droid, Hu Yang, seen in the Ahsoka and the Clone Wars, is confirmed to be nearly 25,000 years old. Theories suggest he didn't just teach Jedi, he may have been built by the Prime Jedi themselves to preserve their original teachings.
I like it, except that.
He never says that.
How can it. Yeah, and also, how can a droid be 25,000 years old and never have his memory wiped?
It happened to R2 and 3PO three times. Twice.
Yeah. Within.
Two or three times. One of the two.
Yeah, within, like, 30 years.
Within the span of the first 6 movies.
60 years, yeah.
All right, and for our final theory, although not entirely important, but still rather interesting, is that Yoda species are not natural aliens from a specific planet, but they are direct manifestations of the Force. This explains why the Yoda species are never named specifically. There's really rarely more than one in existence at a time. And
Except for
why
Yoda,
they're
and,
all...
Yoda and Yaddle.
That's what I'm saying, rarely more than one in existence at a time.
Well, actually, there was Yoda and Yaddle.
Well, there's a pink
And
one that's
then-
not Yoda species. It's different.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, But-
Yoda species are only ever green.
yeah, but there's Yoda
Crinkle.
and there's Yaddle, and then there's Grogu, because he was taken out of the
But the Force
Jedi
knew
Temple.
that Yaddle would die in the Clone Wars, Yoda would die in movie 6, so then Grogu was there after movie 6. Anyways, so yes. So because every known member, Yoda, Yaddle, Grogu, is naturally powerful in the Force and lives for centuries, fans believe they are spawned by the Force whenever the galaxy needs a long-term guardian. This would also make sense that Dagobah could actually be their quote-unquote home planet, because that place is very strong with the Force.
At least that one cave is.
The one cave is really powerful with the dark side, which means if there's light, if there's a Force balance, there must also be some place that's really strong with the light side of the Force, which means that might be where Yoda, Yaddle, and Grogu were all spawned from. Makes sense, a little bit.
There could be some connection in there with the Tho-Yor. If we're going with Legends, there could be a connection with the Tho-Yor and maybe Tython with the Yoda species.
Yep.
So,
And then to go along with this Force creation of Yoda species is the Grogu mirror. Some believe that Grogu was created by the Force as a direct light side response to Anakin Skywalker's birth, ensuring a balance was maintained against the Sith's chosen one. So, the Sith knew Yoda and Yaddle were going to die, and Anakin dies. So then Grogu is much younger and will live all the way through movie 9 in preparation to be a great warrior against the evil that's maybe going to happen after movie 9 if they make a 10, 11, 12. I hope they don't. I want someone else to make 10, 11, or 10, 11,
no,
12.
we don't want 10, 11, 12.
Well, I'm tired of these TV shows. I want stinking good movies back.
Yeah. I
I want to go back in time. When did they get...
I-
Disney. Don't make Disney do it.
Yeah.
But I want Old Republic. And Acolyte doesn't count.
I don't want Disney to make 10, 11, and 12. I want to see fan stuff on, like, YouTube about it. I
Yeah.
don't want to see Disney do it and then be like, it's canon and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
No, I want to see multiple different fan works.
Mm-hmm.
But then we also have Legends where 7, 8, and 9 are just completely obsolete.
Yeah. So, yeah. But the thing with Grogu being the Force offset doesn't mean anything anymore because he chose to be, to go with the Mandalorian and be a youngling Mandalorian.
The longest
A
living
foundling. Sorry, they're called
Mandalorian.
foundling. Yeah, a foundling Mandalorian, and not pursue full power with the Force. So he can't really do much anymore. The only tricks up his sleeve he has is what he learned as a kid. Still a kid. Weird. Back in the Clone Wars, or well,
Yeah,
maybe
just
3,
just whatever he learned, whatever he knew before, and then
before season 2.
before Luke taught him anything, and then he now knows what Luke taught him. He didn't
Yeah.
really do the whole bunch, but
yeah.
since
So
Disney has to make everybody automatically overpowered.
excited, but also very afraid for the new Mandalorian Grogu movie.
Mm-hmm. But anyways,
Well, I'd say that's about it. Thanks for listening. Please give us a follow, like, comment, whatever on the platform you're listening on. Thank you, and see you next time.
I'll see ya.